Hello and welcome to another episode of Shardcast. I'm your host Aaron Froats, Froatsylvania to the Hex community, and I'm going to be bringing to you a tournament match today. It's our 18th Shardcast, and I'll be bringing you a round 1 matchup of the HexTCGPro Guild Placement Tournament. The match will feature Errantsquire and Rowland. Errantsquire is going to be playing a mono wild deck, while Rowland will be playing a wild sapphire deck. This is part of the HexTCGPro's placement tournament, as I said a few minutes ago, to where they're going to start narrowing down who's going to be their big guns in their guild and who's going to be sort of on their casual side. So let's see how this round 1 matchup works out for Errantsquire and Rowland as we get to it. And here comes the coin flip. And it looks like Errantsquire is going to be winning the coin flip. We are watching this matchup from his point of view. And with 1 resource, I'm imagining he's probably going to be mulliganing. Yep, he does. Goes down to 6 cards. Not a bad keep here. He does 2 wild shards, a Howling Brave, Wild Root Dancer, Munario Sensei, and a Fist of Brigadon. Rowland will now decide if he wants to keep his starting hand or not, or decides if he wants to mulligan. Errantsquire has been featured on here a couple times. He was also the very first Shardcast we had, so we do have quite a soft spot for Errantsquire, as he did get the whole Shardcast thing rolling. And I think with the amount of time that Rowland is taking with the mulliganing, either he's thinking very hard or he's tossing his hand a couple times. He does. He goes down to 4 cards. That may come back to bite him, especially when we know Errantsquire is playing a ramp deck here. Errantsquire will lead us off with a Wild Shard and Howling Brave. As you can sort of see on the side there, I will apologize the way this cardcast is cut here. Not going to be able to see the chain as the cards are played, so I will tell you as they are played as much as I can. Errantsquire will pass turn back over to Rowland. Rowland will draw a card for his first turn, which will bring him up to 5 cards. As I said, he mulliganed down to 4. And when playing a Wild Sapphire deck, maybe he's got a few ramp cards in there, but I'm guessing he doesn't. He plays a Sapphire Shard for turn. And it looks as if he's going to pass turn back over. As Errantsquire takes a moment. I'm thinking this will set up nicely for him because unless he draws something different, he'll drop the Sensei next turn to draw a card. They may be able to ramp a little bit faster by pulling a Chlorophylla, which is almost essential to a wild ramp deck. Pulls Jadim, that's a good card. Not for right now, but it will be in the future. Errantsquire plays a Wild Shard. Now let's see if he drops the Sensei or not. I'll probably do it on the second main phase. Then he swings with his Howling Brave. And Rowland will take the 1 damage from the Brave to go down to 19. Second main phase, yep, here comes the Sensei. The 1/1 troop allows him to draw a card when it enters play, and he draws another Wild Shard. That's helpful as far as ramping goes, because when he drops that shard next turn, he'll have 4. Actually, it's even better because he'll be able to exhaust the Brave to go to 3 resources, play the Root Dancer, and then play the shard afterwards to activate the Root Dancer's ability. So that's a pretty good card there. Rowland draws a turn and drops a second Sapphire Shard. And looks like he's going to pass turn again. So this could get real hairy for him in a hurry. See what Errantsquire draws for his turn. Another Sensei, so this is interesting. I would think he's going to go ahead and try to apply as much pressure as he can here by playing the Root Dancer followed by the Shard and go ahead and pump up the Sensei. Yep, here comes the Root Dancer. Says anytime you play a resource, you give another target troop +2/+2, and he does. Gives it to the sensei that's already on the board. The Munari sensei on the board goes to 3/3. And will surely attack this turn. Yep. Rowland with 2 resources available, see if he has any shenanigans. Like a time ripple, maybe. Nope. Here comes the damage, 16 left. Errantsquire still at 20. Errantsquire has a Howling Brave, a 3/3 Sensei, and a 2/2 Rude Dancer on the board, with a Fist of Brigadon, a Jadim, and a Munario Sensei in hand. As he passes turn to Rowland, draws a card for turn to go to 5. And there's a Wild Shard. Hopefully that was what he was waiting on, because if not, this could get very, very difficult for him. He plays Oracle Stone to draw some more cards in hand. That's not a good sign. Usually that means he doesn't have anything to play, just digging for something. But with no resources now left to play, if Errantsquire draws another resource shard here, it'd be interesting to see if he doesn't just drop Jadim out there and give the 2/2 buff to Sensei again, swing for 5. Nope, doesn't get one. Brave's almost just as good, but he can't use it this turn, so I wonder if he goes to the Sensei here and tries to draw a shard. Just so he can use the Root Dancer's ability. Yep, here comes the Sensei out of the hand. Draws a card. Another Howling Brave. Good cards. That helps him to ramp up much quicker. He'll be able to get Brigadon out in 2 turns. At minimum. So he's going to swing with the Root Dancer and the Sensei this turn. Posing 5 damage. Take Rowland down to 11. I'd imagine he's going to exhaust the Howling Brave he has on board and play the other 2 Howling Braves, which will give him all sorts of ramp. Yep, exhaust 1. Here comes the first one. And here comes the second one. The next turn, Errantsquire will be able to get the Fist of Brigadon out or Jadim out, whichever one he decides to play. It'll probably depend on if he pulls a shard or not. Well, either way, it wouldn't matter because the shard doesn't give Jadim a buff anyway. Moving on. Rowland plays his own Howling Brave. It's about 3 turns too late, I fear. He has 3 resources back, as he played a Sapphire Shard for turn. I'm sorry, I played another Wild Shard. I apologize. Which 3 resources back in a Sapphire deck only smells like counter magic, so we'll see if Errantsquire gets hold of one of those in a second. Here comes a Chaos Key. And let's see if Errantsquire goes ahead and exhausts his 3 Howling Braves to get Fist out. Going to attack first. Going to attack with the Munario Sensei. I don't know if I attack with Root Dancer here, just in case he's playing any sort of time ripple or one of those to bounce it back to your hand, because then that would be a little bit cumbersome. Instead, he swings with a 3/3 Sensei and the 1/1 Sensei. And I think he's trying to bait Rowland into blocking and taking his extra resources off the board. Rowland does not. Takes the 4 to the face, and he's down to 7 health. So Errantsquire's at 20, Rowland at 7. Second main phase. Lost 1 Howling Brave. Lost 2 Howling Brave. And out comes Jadim. A 5/5 flight troop for 5. That whenever you play a non-resource card, it gets +X, where X is equal to that card's cost, as he shows you. So that's a very, very strong card, especially right now. Rowland did not have the counter magic, which was surprising with those 3 resources back. I don't know if he was bluffing it or not. Without an answer here, Rowland's going to be done. He plays a Jadim of his own. That's not bad. But I have to imagine that Errantsquire's going to play a Fist of Brigadon next turn, making his Jadim 11/11. And this has got to be a game next turn. Rowland can draw a card here with the champion abilities that just lit up. Not going to do much good, though, because he doesn't have any resources to play it. So Rowland with a Jadeem at 5/5 and Howling Brave on his side of the board. Errantsquire with a 5/5 Jadeem, Root Dancer, 1/1 Sensei, 3/3 Sensei, and 3 Howling Braves. So we know that Fist of Brigadon is in hand, so he's going to pump the Jadeem up to 11/11. Which forces him to block with his Jadeem. But 2, 5, 6. No, he can't win this turn. Unless he pulls a resource. So you should be able to get Rowland down to, I think, 1 here. Unless he blocks with his Howling Brave, then he's got him down to 2. So here comes the Fist. That brings Jadeem up to 11/11 because the Fist costs us 6. So +6/+6 on top of the 5/5. So I would imagine Errantsquire is going to swing the house here. If he blocks the Howling Brave, he'll go down to 2. If he doesn't, he'll go down to 1. I think he'd leave the Howling Brave out there because it's of no consequence. Rowland has to block the Jadeem, though, with the zone. Otherwise, it's a game over. Yep. Oh, he actually does block the Howling Brave. Mitigate 3 of the damage, so he'll only go down to 4 now. But Errantsquire has a board full of troops. And Rowland's not running any blood, so he can't run Extinction. He could run a Yesterday. Yesterday would be a big play here if he pulls one. If not, the game's over. We'll see exactly how this turns out. Rowland plays a Wild Shard. Going to 6 resources. Crash of Beasts. That's not going to get there. Need the Flying Troop. Yep, that'll do it. So Errantsquire on his turn will be able to swing for game. Make quick work of Rowland here in about 10 minutes. Goes out this Crazy Scroll Titan for a good measure. Probably not. Errantsquire probably just going to swing the house here, which swinging everybody, no matter what Rowland has in hand, will actually end the game. So, in good sportsmanship, Errantsquire doesn't play the Crazy Scroll Titan, and Rowland concedes. So that was a huge game 1 there. Errantsquire taking game 1 pretty easily there. As we move on towards game 2. Again, this is a best-of-3 matchup between Errantsquire and Rowland to see the placement for HexTCGPro as far as how they're going to place their guild members as far as competitive teams go. And I think they're about ready to go ahead and start game 2, so let's get back over to it. And coin flip this time, and we can see who wins this. So it looks like Errantsquire won again. 4 shards in hand with Chlorophyll and a Crash of Beast. He'll probably keep it. He does. Rowland, let's see if he has better luck this time. He also keeps 7. So Errantsquire plays a Wild Shard for turn, and we'll pass turn over. Not a bad hand for Errantsquire, as he can draw into a bunch of possibilities here because he already has all his resources he's going to need. We'll have a total of 6 right there. Rowland draws a card for turn. Rowland obviously needing a win to push us to game 3 of the best of 3. Errantsquire with a win would actually win the match and move on to round 2 with a 1-0 record. It is a Swiss tournament, meaning you will play all the rounds regardless if you lose or win. Rowland drops a Sapphire Shard and passes the turn back over to Errantsquire, who draws a Fist of Brigadon. So this is pretty good draw here for Errantsquire. He's got a Crazy Scroll Titan and a Brigadon, which are both 6-cost troops, but he will easily be able to get to 6. The question will be, will we play the Crash of Beast first or the Chlorophyll first? Kind of depends on what he draws. If he draws, say, a Jadeem, I imagine he plays the Chlorophyll first. Rowland drops a wild shard and passes turn back over. Because that way, on the following turn, he can drop the Jadim and start pumping him up. Also, because Rowland hasn't gotten to 3 resources yet, you don't have to worry about counter magic. It's a Chaos Key. So I imagine Crash of Beast will come here. Get some pressure on. Nope, he's going to go ahead and go Chlorophylla. Both of them are okay plays. I mean, depends on which way you look at it. Crash of Beast would have given him to swing 3/3 on next turn. But now he can drop his fist next turn because with 5 resources, the Wild Shard will give him 6 and he can drop the Fist of Brigadon. So both are pretty acceptable plays. It depends on how quickly you want to apply the pressure. Here comes that second Sapphire resource. So counter magic is in play now with the 2 Sapphire threshold and the 3 resources. And Rowland doesn't play anything here, so you have to worry about that counter magic. We didn't see it in the first game, but it's rare to see a Sapphire deck that doesn't play counter magic, especially when they're leaving 3 resources open. Draws a Wild Shard for turn, plays a Wild Shard, and plays the Fist of Brigadon. As suspected, there's a counter magic. I know you can't see it on your screen, but he counter magics the Fist of Brigadon. So the Fist will go to the graveyard and have a permanent cost of +1 on all cards in all zones. Errantsquire uses his champion ability and gains 5 health, going to 25. And out of resources, he will pass turn back over to Rowland. So Rowland staves off a little bit of problem. Getting that Fist to go straight through the graveyard with counter magic. And that Fist lane, that's a tough one to get hold of. Rowland will draw for turn as soon as the sinking mechanism is done here. Counter magic's played, and we are in the alpha version of Hex. So after counter magic's played, it has to go through all the cards in all zones and add the +1, all of Errantsquire zones, and add the +1 cost to it. So it takes a little bit of time there. Rowland draws a card for turn, goes to 6. I'm sorry, he'll draw a card and go to 7 as soon as it starts his turn. Rowland asking if Errantsquire's going to post these games. Yes, he is. Cardcast would not exist without people posting their games. So again, appreciate Errantsquire for posting these games, as it gives me a chance to cast them for you. Alright, so Rowland moves on to his prep phase and then on his draw phase. Draws for card for turn, going to 7. We'll drop a Wild Shard, going to 4 resources, 2 threshold of each Wild and Sapphire, and drops Incantation of Ascendance, which is a Sapphire constant that says anytime you draw a card, put an incantation counter on this constant. When it reaches 5 counters, transform it and all copies of it in all zones you control to a Lightning Armada, which is a 2/2 flight troop that gets +2/+2 equal to the number of cards in your hand. Sorry, +2/+2 for each card in your hand. Let me clarify that. So if you have 4 cards in hand, that's +8/+8. So it's a huge card if you can get it off there. I'd imagine we're going to see the Chaos Key come out shortly, just because you can pull that incantation off the board. Crash of Beast comes out. And maybe Munario Sensei draw a card. Yep. Here comes the Sensei. Errantsquire will draw a card, and it will be a Sacred Laboratory. And here comes the Chaos Key. That's going to pose a threat to Rowland, because next turn, if he starts putting counters on the incantation, Errantsquire can just void it. Chaos Key says, on your turn, a basic action. For 5, pay 5 resources and void Chaos Key. You can void target card. So that's any troop. That is, any constant artifact. So we'll see. As we're at the end of Errantsquire's phase, it looks like well, maybe typing something out in the chat box because he hasn't moved on to his turn yet. This crazy scroll type at this point in time is merely a removal spell. So they're chatting back and forth, so I apologize for the break in the action here, as obviously it's good to communicate with your opponent. At the time of this match, the incantations, a couple of them had a couple bugs, so they're kind of discussing how they're going to play that to make it fair. Incantation of Sentence had a small bug. I believe they fixed now with the latest patch. Or if you played a second incantation, or well, actually second Lightning Armada, since they all transform, it actually gets double the +2/+2 per card in hand. So if instead of being +8/+8 for the 4 cards in hand, actually +16/+16. So it was bugged. I think they did fix that. Rowland now draws a card for turn, plays a wild shard, and uses champion power to draw another card. So incantation got 2 counters on him. He plays a Jadim, which that's going to be the immediate target of a Chaos Key. You have to assume. So Errantsquire will swing for 4 next turn and start dealing some damage. And Errantsquire draws a wild shard, so you can probably drop. Yeah, he'll drop the Crazy Scroll Titan, I would imagine. Go ahead and get the Jadim off the board. I'm sorry, not the Crazy Scroll Titan, the Chaos Key. I apologize. And then play the Secret Laboratory, so you can start going to get cards out of his graveyard if you need. I mean, out of his library if he needs to. Really made a mess of all that, didn't I? So, let's recap. He activated his Chaos Key to void the Jadim off the board. Now he's going to swing for 4. Bring Rowland down to 16. With 3 resources, I have to imagine you'll play the Secret Laboratory, which says pay 1 resource and exhaust Secret Laboratory. You can draw a card, and then you can choose and discard a card. So it's basically a cycling card. Yep, here it comes down to the board. The only problem now is Rowland now still has that incantation out there, since Errantsquire had to use the Chaos Key for Jadim. So as Rowland draws a card this turn, counter will go to 3. And Ancestor Chosen, which is not a bad card with the incantation because it makes Ancestral Specters. Oh, there's another one too. It makes 2/2 Ancestral Specters with Flight for 1 cost that allow you to draw a card when it comes into play at the beginning of each turn. So he's basically shuffling a bunch of card draw in his deck. And he plays a Crash of Beasts. So I would imagine this Crazy Scroll Titan's going to come in and take the Rhinoceros off the board. We'll see here. As he draws a Battle Beetle. That's not a bad card either, because he can get that flight and fly right over the top, so. Crazy Scroll Titan come into play. When it comes into play, it attacks target opposing troop. So it's going to attack the Rhinoceros right off the bat. 4 damage. The Rhinoceros will kill it. That's a good pseudo removal card. Oh, a little bit, there we go. As we move to the attack phase, Errantsquire is going to swing with the Rhinoceros and the Sensei. He's kind of baiting Rowland into blocking the Sensei to get the card draw off the board. Wonder if he's going to activate a Secret Laboratory here, try to get a different card. I doubt it, because Battle Beetle is a very strong card, especially with the Spell Shield gem in it, which he has. Because then he can make it a 5/5 flight creature for 2 resources, and it can't be targeted by any opposing spells. Errantsquire's in the driver's seat here. He's got 25 health to Rowland's 12. Rowland now has 4 counters on the incantation, so another draw will turn it into a Lightning Armada. With 4 cards in hand, that could be pretty fierce to deal with. So Rowland has 4 cards in hand, 5 resources available. Errantsquire just has the Battle Beetle in hand and 2 resources available. Errantsquire with a Rhinoceros, a Minoru Sensei, and a Crazy Scroll Titan on the board, and his Secret Laboratory. Rowland has 2 Ancestor Chosen and the Incantation of Ascendance with 4 counters on it. That's where we stand as Rowland's trying to figure out how he wants to play this out. He chooses not to play anything on his first main phase. And skips his attack phase. Let's see if he plays it. No, it doesn't play anything on second main phase. Rowland will pass turn. Back over to Errantsquire. It's fishy again with the Sapphire deck. It smells like counter magic, but we'll see. Errantsquire draws a wild shard. Let's see if he uses the laboratory to get rid of the shard, because he really doesn't need the resources here. And he does. He's going to activate the laboratory. He draws a shard anyway. That's an unlucky draw. So he discards one shard as he picks up the other shard. Moves to the attack phase. He's going to swing with everybody here. Posing 8 damage. Let's see if Rowland decides to block if he's going to take all 8. Imagine he's going to block the Scroll Titan. Yep, he does. That mitigates 4 of the damage, so Rowland will drop to 8 health here. And lose a Ancestor Chosen off the board. Second main phase, Errantsquire is going to drop the Battle Beetle. The 5/5 troop for 6. That has a socket in it, a major socket, which he put the green Spell Shield gem in it, which means you have 2 Wild Threshold. It gains Spell Shield. Plus you can pay 2 resources and it gains Flight that turn, so it's a very, very strong card. And Errantsquire chooses not to play his Wild Shard in hand, use it for a decoy, or a bluffing card. Rowland draws card, and out comes the Armada. With 5 cards in hand, that'll make it a 12/12, as it gets +10/+10. And Errantsquire only has 1 resource available. Had he played the other Wild Shard, he could have elevated his Battle Beetle. But at the same time, he can easily take the 12 to the face, and then Rowland doesn't have any blockers. So Rowland does swing for 12, which will take Errantsquire down to 13. But as I said, now he only has 1 blocker. Battle Beetle can fly. That's 5 unblocked. Oh, Mastery Time. Good play here. Mastery Time for 5 resources allow you to play an extra turn after this one. So Errantsquire will not be able to play immediately. And now Rowland can leave the Armada up the block if he wants to, or depending on if he draws an Oracle Song, that could be game. As that takes his card total down to 4, brings back up to 5 when he draws a card for turn. If he draws anything that can, like a Menacing Grolk here, actually wouldn't work. He needs something for card draw, or something. Yeah, he really can't finish off Errantsquire this turn. The Oracle Song would have been the only thing that would have finished him off, because anything he plays here drops the Lightning Armada down to 10. So he can't really swing with the Armada here. Unless he's got a fistful of blockers, but then again, he'd have to block everything on board, including the crush of the Rhinoceros. Here comes a 12 from the Armada, to bring Errantsquire down to 1. Not playing burn, don't have to worry about it. Because to elevate the... Oh, here comes Crash of Beasts. That's not a bad play. Now he can block Rhinoceros with Rhinoceros. Block the... Oh, and another Ancestor Chosen. So, interesting play here. He should be able to block everything for the exception of the Flying Battle Beetle, which will bring Rowland down to 3, but at the same time leave him susceptible to the Ancestor Chosen next turn. Ooh, I don't think that could have been a better draw. Jadim. Jadim gives him another flight troop. And draws a Wild Root Dancer. If he gets rid of Jadim here, plays Wild Root Dancer, now he still can't win because he only make the Battle Beetle 7/7. So he can play the Wild Root Dancer, then the Shard, and pump the Battle Beetle. But I don't see anybody ever discarding Jadim. If he puts Jadim out on the board, he can block with the Battle Beetle next turn, play the Wild Root Dancer, and swing for 8. This could be game, depending on what Rowland plays next turn. Errantsquire has enough blockers. He'll play Jadeem here. What he would do is probably hold off swinging with the Battle Beetle. He's at 2 resources back, which allows him to activate the Flight ability, which means he can block the Armada. That'll kill the Battle Beetle, but the Armada won't be back to block for when Jadeem swings. When Errantsquire plays the Wild Root Dancer with a cost of 3, that brings Jadeem up to an 8/8, unblocked unless Rowland plays a Flight Troop. In addition to whatever Errantsquire draws next turn. So I think he might swing with the... Actually, he probably won't swing at all. He's going to leave blockers back here because he's only got 1 health. Five on 5 here. So, Ancestral Spectre would be a good card for Rowland to pull here, or Oracle Song. Because you want blockers out there. You want flying blockers. He wants the Spectres out there. So draw a card for turn. Rowland goes up to 4 cards. The Armada's back up to a 10/10. 5 resources available for Rowland. So again, Errantsquire can give Battle Beetle Flight, which will block the Armada, which will also exhaust the Armada, leaving Jadeem unblocked on the following turn. The Rowland's in quite a predicament here. Of course, Menacing Grok would have been the best pull there. Menacing Grok would have exhausted all of Errantsquire's troops, and then that'd have been game. Rowland's calculating this out. As I said before, if he swings with that Armada, either way, it's game. If Rowland does not have a second flight troop, that's game. Because Errantsquire has 2. He has Jadeem and he has the Battle Beetle. So if he swings the Armada, Errantsquire just blocks, which he does. So Errantsquire is going to pull this off with just 1 health. So I imagine the Scroll Titan's going to block the Rhinoceros. Jadeem's going to block the Rhinoceros. And the Battle Beetle is going to have Flight, which you have to give it Flight before it blocks. I learned this out the hard way. Not quite sure if that's intended, but right now, if you go to your blocking phase, or declare defender's phase, and then give the Battle Beetle Flight, even if you block, the damage will go through. Not sure if that's intended or if that's the way the rules work. I just don't understand them properly. But I had that happen to me the other day. So, smartly, Errantsquire during the declare attack phase for Rowland, in response, gives Battle Beetle Flight. The only thing that could really hurt Errantsquire here would be a Time Ripple, which I think he would have done before he'd have swung. A Buccaneer would have been good before he swung. Anything that really would have hurt Errantsquire here would have been done before Rowland attacked. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is Errantsquire's got the Rhinoceros over here, which is a 3/3 crush creature. That's what Rowland was just mentioning. He didn't realize that was a Rhinoceros. So, even without pumping up Jadeem, the game... Well, no, I guess he'd still have to pump him up some. Either way, game's over if Rowland doesn't play anything here. He does not, and that's game. Because the Wild Root Dancer will hit the board, make a Jadeem an 8/8, and he'll swing 8 unblocked. And that'll be it. So, Errantsquire will take this game with 1 health remaining. Another example of maximizing all of your resources, which includes your health. People don't always think of that as a resource. There was an article in HexTCGPro several weeks ago by Haga that talked about using your health as a resource. Errantsquire not taking any chances here. He's going to unload his hand and buff up all his troops in order to make sure he does get this 8 damage through. You never know what Rowland has back. He has 4 cards in hand and 5 resources available, but it looks like Rowland's already GG'd. So this will finish it. And Errantsquire will swing the house. Well, he can't swing the root dancer, just came into play. And that will do it. So congrats to Errantsquire on the win as he takes the first round matchup against Rowland in the HexTCGPro placement tournament. He takes the game takes the match 2 games to 0. So well done there, and congrats. Good sportsmanship again to Rowland. I'd like pointing that out because this is a very, very friendly community, which I can't, give kudos to everybody in the community enough about being so friendly and welcoming and being good sports. It's very important when you're playing an online-only game. If you go to a card shop and you sit across from somebody, some people can just be, mean in general anyway. But you tend to be more personable and more friendly and good sport with the person right in front of you. When it's just a person on the other side of the box, then it's important to be a good sport. So I wanted to acknowledge Rowland's good sportsmanship there. And again, wanted to acknowledge Errantsquire and his good play there and to make sure that he has good luck on his endeavors in the next round. And good luck again to Rowland. Again, it's a Swiss tournament, so Rowland isn't out of it. It's 6 rounds, if I recall correctly. I'm in the tournament, so I probably should know that. So Rowland can very well go 5-1. So it's not the end of the world here. But again, that was a matchup between Errantsquire and Rowland. Errantsquire taking it 2 games to 0. And I appreciate you tuning in to this episode of Shardcast. Until next time, so long. Yourself. Brace yourself.